Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started.
Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins are also set to be under the same roof at the upcoming edition of Friday Night SmackDown, which promises a massive spectacle with WrestleMania implications. WWE is currently touring Europe, and this week's show will be live from Bologna, Italy. Roman Reigns made a surprising return after a nearly 6-week break on Raw at Madison Square Garden. The OTC interfered in the CM Punk vs. Seth Rollins main event steel cage bout. The undisputed tribal chief seemingly settled his scores, taking revenge on Rollins for what he did to him at the 2025 Royal Rumble. Reigns pulled Seth out of the cage and laid him out with a Superman punch and a stomp. After that, Roman Reigns entered the cage and punished Punk, who eliminated him from the Rumble. Many expect the rumored triple threat match between these three to get officially announced on the Blue brand this week. However, in a shocking twist, Rollins and Punk could unexpectedly form an unlikely alliance against Reigns and launch an attack on the OTC, punishing him for ruining their steel cage match on Raw. They might just be more vicious in their attack and leave Roman even unable to compete at WrestleMania 41. WWE might announce that Roman Reigns was injured during the 2-on-1 assault and would be sidelined for an unknown period. This could be kayfabe, continuing the storyline leading to a singles match between Rollins and Punk at the Showcase of the Immortals. Roman Reigns could make a grand return during the bout and cost the Visionary against Punk at the Show of Shows to exact his revenge. This angle could lay the foundation for a singles feud between the former Shield brothers. That said, the angle proposed above is speculative at this point and we'll know more this Friday night. Roman Reigns could help former rival at WWE WrestleMania 41. The undisputed tribal chief might play another massive role at the grandest stage of them all this year. Cody Rhodes is caught up in a rather troublesome situation against the powerful coalition of a newly turned heel John Cena and The Rock. For now, Rhodes stands alone and might need some assistance to balance the scales at WrestleMania 41. In a shocking twist, Roman could emerge as Cody Rhodes' savior against John Cena and The Rock at WrestleMania 41, returning the American Nightmare's favor from last year, when the undisputed WWE champion stood by Reigns' side against Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa at Bad Blood 2024. This would also plant seeds for the dream match between the final boss and the OTC in the future. However, the scenario suggested is hypothetical at the moment. With WrestleMania looming, it will be interesting to see what plans the Triple H-led creative team has for Reigns in the coming weeks. The tribal chief's reign ends in heartbreak. The WWE Universe was stunned as devastating news broke just weeks before WrestleMania 41. Roman Reigns, the head of the table, had suffered a severe injury that would force him to miss the biggest event of the year. What was originally planned to be Reigns' triumphant return to reclaim the undisputed WWE Universal Championship had now turned into a nightmare for the Bloodline. The unfortunate incident occurred at a WWE live event, a rare appearance for the usually exclusive tribal chief. Reigns had agreed to step into the ring to give fans a special preview of his road to WrestleMania, where he was set to headline the event against Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, or potentially a rising challenger. However, tragedy struck in an unplanned moment that would alter the course of WWE history. The injury that shook WWE. It was a sold-out crowd at Madison Square Garden, an arena rich with wrestling history, where Reigns decided to make a rare appearance. The main event of the night saw him team up with Solo Sikoa and Jimmy USO to take on Cody Rhodes, LA Knight, and Randy Orton. The match was a spectacle, with the Bloodline dominating early on. Reigns looked as strong as ever, delivering Superman punches and spears, proving why he was still the most dominant force in WWE. However, disaster struck when Reigns attempted a second spear on Cody Rhodes. As he lunged forward, Rhodes instinctively sidestepped, sending Reigns crashing hard into the ring post. The impact was brutal, and immediately, something seemed off. Reigns rolled out of the ring, clutching his shoulder in visible pain. The referee quickly checked on him as trainers rushed to his side. While he tried to shake it off and continue, he struggled to lift his arm, grimacing with every movement. Despite the pain, Reigns, ever the warrior, pushed forward. He re-entered the ring and attempted to finish the match with a weakened spear on Rhodes, but the injury had already taken its toll. Rhodes countered with a crossroads, pinning the tribal chief to the shock of the crowd. Backstage, the situation worsened. Reigns was immediately taken for medical evaluation, and the initial reports weren't promising. The WWE medical team suspected a torn rotator cuff or even a fractured collarbone, both injuries that could take months to heal. Official WWE statement confirms the worst. Speculation ran rampant as WWE officials remained silent for nearly 48 hours following the injury. Fans hoped it was just a minor setback and that Reigns would still make it to WrestleMania. However, WWE finally released an official statement. After suffering an unfortunate injury at a live event, Roman Reigns has been diagnosed with a serious shoulder injury that will require an extended recovery period. As a result, he will be unable to compete at WrestleMania 41. We wish Roman a speedy recovery and will provide updates as they become available. The announcement sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. For the first time in years, WrestleMania would take place without Roman Reigns in the main event. Fans, wrestlers, and analysts alike debated what this meant for the Bloodline's future and the overall landscape of WWE. The fallout, Bloodline in disarray. With Reigns sidelined, the once unbreakable Bloodline now faced a power struggle. Solo Sikoa, already rising as a dominant force, stepped forward to lead in Reigns' absence. However, Jimmy Uso, desperate to reclaim his relevance, saw this as an opportunity to take charge. Meanwhile, Paul Heyman, the wise and calculating special counsel, found himself in the toughest position of his career. How could he hold the Bloodline together without its tribal chief? Whispers of betrayal circulated. Some insiders suggested that Solo Sikoa might take the Bloodline in his own direction, refusing to wait for Reigns' return. Others speculated that Jey Uso, now fully aligned with Cody Rhodes, might see this as the perfect time to finally bury the Bloodline for good. But the biggest question remained: who would step up to fill the WrestleMania main event spot? WWE scrambles for a new main event. With Reigns out, WWE had no choice but to pivot. The match that had been building for months, Reigns' potential rematch against Cody Rhodes, was now off the table. Triple H and WWE officials held emergency meetings to determine the new direction for WrestleMania. One name instantly rose to the top: Seth Rollins. As World Heavyweight Champion, Rollins had long been in Reigns' shadow when it came to WWE's biggest prize. Now, with Reigns out of the picture, this was the perfect opportunity for Rollins to step in and claim his rightful place at the top. But there was also another possibility: The Rock. With WrestleMania set to take place in Las Vegas, The Rock had already teased a major appearance. Could this be the moment where the Great One finally takes the throne Reigns was forced to vacate? Meanwhile, Cody Rhodes, who had been laser-focused on finishing his story against Reigns, now had an entirely new challenge ahead of him. Without the tribal chief as his opponent, did his story still hold the same weight? Roman Reigns' heartfelt message to fans. Days after WWE's official statement, Reigns took to social media to break his silence. In a heartfelt video, he addressed his fans, visibly emotional but determined. "This isn't how I wanted my road to WrestleMania to end. I fought for everything I've built, and I wanted to stand in that ring on the grandest stage of them all. But sometimes, even the strongest fall. I'll be back, stronger than ever. And when I return, everyone, the Bloodline, WWE, and the entire world, will acknowledge me again." The message only fueled speculation on what his return could look like. Would he come back as the same dominant force? Or would this be the moment where Reigns finally undergoes a transformation, possibly stepping away from the Bloodline entirely? WrestleMania 41, a night without the tribal chief. As WrestleMania approached, WWE adapted to the new reality. The event moved forward with a blockbuster main event featuring Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. However, Reigns' absence was felt throughout the night. Superstars paid tribute to him in their promos. Paul Heyman appeared, delivering a cryptic message about the future of the bloodline. And as the night ended, an ominous video package played, one that teased the eventual return of the tribal chief. The road to redemption. While Reigns' absence left a void at WrestleMania 41, it also set up one of the most highly anticipated returns in WWE history. When would Reigns be back? How would he reclaim his spot at the top? And more importantly, would he still be the tribal chief when he returns? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, when Roman Reigns does return, the WWE Universe will be watching, waiting to acknowledge him once more. Roman Reigns to turn heel and reform the bloodline with 2 debuting WWE stars on SmackDown? Exploring the possibility. Roman Reigns' run as a babyface has undoubtedly not been as good as his heel run. The original tribal chief is seemingly set to face Seth Rollins and CM Punk in a triple threat match at WrestleMania 41, which would instantly capture the WWE Universe's attention. After that, Reigns might focus on his family once again, forming a heel faction with debuting Lance Anoa'i and Aquilio, which could be dubbed as a new variant of the bloodline. Both members of the Samoan family have reportedly signed with the global juggernaut back in 2024, but haven't made it to TV yet. A recent report from Wrestling Observer Radio surfaced online, which has left some asking questions on Lance's future in the company. The report suggested that people backstage criticized the star and that there was a possibility that Lance may not make it to the company. While this report has sowed seeds of doubt on Lance's future, WWE could still have him show up on the main roster to see how the fans respond. A possible pairing with Aquilio to join as Roman Reigns' new bloodline members could make things quite interesting. Moreover, putting the original tribal chief alongside the debuting stars would give instant recognition to both stars in the industry early on in their careers. Roman Reigns' WrestleMania match might be made official on SmackDown. This week's episode of SmackDown is set to feature the return of former undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns to the blue brand. Furthermore, CM Punk and Seth Rollins will also be present on the show, bringing all 3 stars together under the same roof for the first time since the Chaos in the Steel Cage match last week on WWE Raw. With all 3 megastars present and a feud being built around them, WWE might make the triple threat match between them official for the grandest stage of them all. Considering the star power in the match, the triple threat battle could end up being the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 41, fulfilling CM Punk's dream to main event the show. Time will now tell what WWE has planned when all 3 stars come together on SmackDown this week. For months, the WWE Universe has speculated about Roman Reigns' next move. Since losing the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania, the Tribal Chief has been absent from WWE television. Meanwhile, the bloodline has slowly crumbled in his absence, with Solo Sikoa asserting himself as the new leader and adding Jacob Fatu to the ranks. However, with cracks forming and Paul Heyman looking increasingly uneasy, the stage is set for a major shakeup. Could Roman Reigns return as a full-fledged heel, disowning his former faction and forming a new bloodline with 2 debuting WWE stars? Let's explore the possibility. The state of the bloodline without Roman Reigns. Since Roman Reigns' departure, Solo Sikoa has taken the reins of the bloodline. He has assumed command with a ruthless edge, bringing in Jacob Fatu to reinforce his dominance. However, tensions are brewing. Paul Heyman appears conflicted, unsure of Solo's leadership. Jimmy Uso, once a loyal soldier, has seemingly been cast aside, and Jey Uso has thrived on his own on WWE Raw. Despite their dominance, Solo and Jacob Fatu lack the strategic brilliance that made Roman's reign as tribal chief so successful. Reigns wasn't just a leader, he was a master manipulator who played mind games with his enemies and allies alike. Without him, the bloodline feels more like a faction of brute force rather than a dynasty of strategic warfare. And that's exactly why Roman might be planning his return, to reclaim his empire, but with an entirely new army by his side. The perfect setup, Roman's return as a ruthless heel. For much of his historic title reign, Roman Reigns operated in shades of gray, neither fully good nor entirely evil. However, his return could be the moment he fully embraces a darker persona. He has every reason to. Betrayal by his own blood, Solo Sikoa has declared himself the new head of the table without Roman's blessing. This alone is an unforgivable act. The bloodline was always about loyalty, and Solo taking control in Roman's absence is an act of mutiny. Paul Heyman's dilemma: Heyman is the key to Roman's return. The wise man has looked more paranoid with each passing week, hinting that he may be aware of something the rest of the WWE universe doesn't know. Could he be secretly plotting Roman's return behind Solo's back? Destroying the bloodline to rebuild it, Roman Reigns doesn't just want his faction back. He wants to rebuild it in his own image, free from any potential betrayers. The Usos? Gone. Solo? Punished. Jacob Fatu? A casualty of war. This wouldn't just be a return, it would be a war declaration. The two WWE stars who could join Roman's new bloodline. To truly make a statement, Roman Reigns can't just return alone. He needs soldiers who are loyal, fresh, and capable of wreaking havoc on SmackDown. Two names come to mind. 1. Zilla Fatu. The son of the late Umaga, Zilla Fatu has been making waves in the wrestling world. With his lineage and untapped potential, he would be the perfect recruit for Roman's new bloodline. Zilla could be positioned as the new enforcer, someone who reminds the world of the sheer brutality that Umaga once brought to the ring. Roman could frame his recruitment as a way to reclaim the legacy of Umaga, painting Solo as someone who dishonored the family name by trying to take Roman's throne. This would add a deeply personal layer to the rivalry, making it about more than just power. It would be about family betrayal. 2. Jacob Fatu, swerved into Roman's faction. While Jacob Fatu has already been introduced as Solo's ally, there's always the possibility of a shocking swerve. Jacob has been portrayed as a merciless warrior, but what if he was simply waiting for the true tribal chief to return? Imagine the moment: Solo Sikoa, confident that he has the most dangerous Samoan warrior on his side, orders Jacob Fatu to take out Roman, only for Jacob to instead turn on Solo. It would be a betrayal on the highest level, cementing Roman Reigns as an undeniable force. With Jacob Fatu and Zilla Fatu by his side, Roman's new bloodline would be built for absolute destruction. How it could happen on SmackDown. SmackDown begins with Solo Sikoa's coronation. Solo opens SmackDown in full authority mode, claiming that the bloodline is better off without Roman Reigns. He declares himself the true head of the table, dismissing any notion that Roman deserves to return. Paul Heyman looks increasingly uncomfortable, shifting nervously behind Solo. As Solo speaks, the lights suddenly go out. The screen flickers, showing cryptic footage of Roman Reigns, sitting in darkness, his face partially hidden. A deep, menacing voice plays over the speakers. "You think I was gone? You think this was over? This family, it belongs to me." The camera zooms in on Roman's face. His eyes are cold, his expression unreadable. "You betrayed me. You all betrayed me." The screen fades to black, leaving Solo looking more confused than ever. The attack and the birth of the new bloodline. Later in the night, Solo and Jacob Fatu are set to compete in a tag match. As they dominate their opponents, the arena suddenly erupts in shock. Roman Reigns appears on the ramp, flanked by two masked figures. Solo orders Jacob to stand his ground, but the unthinkable happens. Jacob Fatu blindsides Solo with a devastating Samoan spike. As Solo lays motionless, the two masked figures unmask, revealing Zilla Fatu alongside Roman Reigns. The crowd erupts as Roman kneels over Solo, whispering something inaudible before standing tall with his new recruits. Paul Heyman, wide-eyed and overwhelmed, slowly approaches Roman. He hesitates, then bows his head in acknowledgement, reaffirming his loyalty. The final shot of SmackDown? Roman standing over Solo, holding up a lei that he rips in half before tossing it onto his fallen cousin. "This is MY Island. This is MY family. And you? You're just another mistake that I had to correct." what this means for WWE's future. Roman Reigns' return in this manner would completely reshape WWE. With Zilla Fatu and Jacob Fatu by his side, this new iteration of the bloodline would be meaner, stronger, and more ruthless than before. Solo Sikoa's fate, does he fight back? Or does he accept his punishment and attempt to regain Roman's trust? Jey Uso's involvement, will he try to help Solo, or will he stay on Raw, choosing to avoid family drama? Cody Rhodes' role, with Roman back in the picture, does Cody get involved, reigniting their WrestleMania rivalry? This storyline has the potential to dominate SmackDown for the next year, giving Roman Reigns a fresh start as a villain even more dangerous than before. Final thoughts. The Bloodline saga is far from over, but it may soon take a shocking turn. If Roman Reigns returns as a full-fledged heel, reclaiming his throne with 2 new warriors, SmackDown will never be the same again. The question remains, when Roman Reigns returns, will the WWE Universe acknowledge him? Or will they realize, too late, that they were never truly prepared for what he would become?